kind of coming face to face with that pain and grief and asking big questions about Christianity and spirituality brought me to a place where I was like, I think that Christians have really got a lot of things wrong and hurt a lot of people. And if Christian leaders can fuck all of this stuff up so bad, maybe they're wrong about sexuality too.
Hey, welcome to On Straight. I'm Mitch, your host, and so glad that you're with us here today. Well, a very special guest I'm excited about. Actually, a new friend. I just met him, and he's got an incredible, amazing, crazy story that I'm excited for you to hear a little bit about. So let me just introduce him here today. My guest is Tyler Williamson. Welcome, Tyler.
Thank you so much. So glad to be with you today on the podcast.
Right. So good. This is the first time we've met.
First time.
When you logged in here on the platform that we're recording, we're like, hello. Nice to meet you. Yeah, we text back and forth a couple of times, but yeah, I'm trying to think of how, I think I saw you on Mike Maeshiro's podcast and would hear your story and I'm like, oh my God, I would love to get this guy to come on mine and just talk about whatever comes up. So yeah, thanks for coming on. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about who you are? You know, what are you doing right now in your life? Where are you from? Where do you live?
My name is Tyler Williamson. I just turned 34 years old last month. I'm a September 12th baby.
A baby.
I live in Birmingham, Alabama, in the United States of America. Yes, interesting season in the United States of America.
Oh my God. Are we getting there already?
I live here in Birmingham. I work at a really cool coffee shop in town. So we're like an all-day cafe. We have a bar, we have a full kitchen, and we have really amazing coffee. So I help manage the front of house of the restaurant there, and I run our bar, which is really fun. So I get to beers and wines and cocktails. Actually work as a bartender part-time and as a life coach part-time as well. So I have a couple side hustles that I do.
Don't we all?
I'm from here in Alabama. I've kind of lived all over, traveled all over doing ministry, missionary trips back in the days. Still love to travel. Fun facts. I have been to 15 countries. When I was a kid, one of my favorite things to do was go rollerblading, and I still love rollerblading and have a pair of rollerblades / inline skates. Tomorrow is Halloween in the United States.
That's right. Not even on my radar.
No, I'm going to be dressing up as Ash Ketchum from Pokemon, which was one of my favorite video games as a kid. I'm currently playing in a fantasy football league with a bunch of my straight friends.
That's so fun. I used to do it too, but I mean, at the time I was still technically straight.
And one of my dreams is to go skydiving. If I could do like any wild, adventurous thing, skydiving would be my thing.
That's
a little bit.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think even if I was invited, I would be down for that trip. Probably the most adventurous I get. I used to love like white water rafting, and I did it out in Idaho and Colorado and stuff. Some really, really nice trips down in West Virginia. I grew up in Ohio, Central Ohio. But then I kind of, as I got older, I kind of like chilled down into kayaking. Yeah, really love kayaking. But yeah, good fun facts. Why don't you tell me a little bit about I don't want to go all the way through the journey yet. I want you to start back with little Tyler.
Yeah.
And tell me if you remember, I'm not assuming. Tell me like your church background. Like, did you grow up in the church? And then when did you figure out as a kid, did you know that you were gay as a child, as an adolescent?
Yeah, great questions. I grew up in a very religious family. So Alabama, definitely in the midst of the Bible. My church background growing up was very like Pentecostal. So very strict, like the Baptists, but very like, we believe in the Holy Spirit and speaking in tongues and God doing miracles and speaking things forth into existence and all those kind of things. So very religious upbringing with lots of like the strictness attached to it that wasn't super fun growing up.
I have a question, silly question about it. Could you wear shorts?
I could wear shorts.
You could?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm a one-up on you then. The strictness I grew up in, we couldn't wear shorts. I grew up in the religion where the women can only wear dresses, can't cut their hair, no makeup. The men, no facial hair. I think they're like loosening a little bit on some of those things, but yeah. So at least you got to wear shorts.
I'm grateful. It might be too warm in Alabama for there to be too many of those folks.
True.
You don't survive summer wearing pants all the time.
All right, fair enough.
I think I like heard so much, even from a very early age, that being gay is wrong and bad, that when, I was like 8, 9, 10, 11 and started developing attractions, I think when I kind of started feeling some interesting feeling towards boys, that I was so not allowed to have those feelings that I wouldn't have been able to call it gay. Does that make sense?
Oh my God, yes. Absolutely makes sense.
So even though I remember someone asked me about this the other day, I had this like neighbor who was a boy around my age who was super cute, who had blonde hair and blue eyes. I was maybe 9 or 10, and I just felt like drawn to him. Like I had a crush on him.
Yeah.
I've been able to say that then, but now looking back, I'm like, oh, like I just had a crush on him, but little me like wasn't allowed to even entertain that idea.
Right.
And I never would have been able to name that as what it was.
I use the same word that you just used, drawn. I felt as a child, I remember feeling drawn to other boys, and I said like not in a sexual way, because at that age, you don't even know about sex. You don't know what that's like. It's but drawn intellectually and emotionally and just wanted to be connected.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So definitely like experience that. But it was so like, I have to be the good boy. I have to be the good kid. I have to make my parents happy. I have to fit in, all of those things that I couldn't even compute the idea that I'd be gay, because I wasn't allowed to be, because it would be the worst thing was.
Absolutely. And I've had the question a lot from family, from my ex-wife, why did you choose to get married? Why did you live the life that you lived? And kind of like you, it just didn't occur to me. It was so ingrained in me that it was wrong. And, that's what I believed, because that's what I was taught. And so I made decisions based on the only thing I thought I was supposed to do. Like I didn't really feel like I had any other options. Didn't even occur to me. Like you said, didn't even
had to survive.
Yeah. No, true.
Yeah. It's like, why didn't you go to a restaurant and like try Chinese food? I'm like, because no one, like, people told me that I shouldn't eat Chinese food because it's bad.
Yeah. That's really good analogy. Did you struggle in your teenage years? Did you you were like, as you got a little bit older into your teens and you kind of probably started understanding and realizing what was going on, was that a big inner struggle for you?
Definitely. I think in my mind and in my heart, it was like, there's something wrong with me. It was never like, oh, I'm gay. It was like, there's something broken inside of me that I need to fix. And I don't know what's going on. Because again, like, being gay wasn't an option.
Yeah.
And so, there was a lot of shame, a lot of self-hatred. And like, I was kind of like an ugly little lanky kid back those days too. Like
We all were.
middle school, like everything sucks and everybody has pimples and everybody's just like in bodies that are too big and limbs that are too big. And so it's definitely like a hard season of life. And I kind of had a little bit of a tougher family situation growing up. Lots of childhood trauma that I'm still processing through. And related to my sexuality. Obviously, that another very, very complicated layer on top of it.
Right.
And so, you know, I spent a lot of time playing video games and I spent a lot of time looking at porn, like when my parents were asleep, sneaking to the family computer, looking at naked boys, because I was curious. I was fascinated. There was a part of myself that felt intrinsic to explore, but I was not allowed to explore. And my peers at school who were straight were exploring their sexualities. And, you know, I was definitely repressed, but I think the repression like has to come out somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely it does.
In the Christian world, I think we were taught to be so ashamed of pornography. I think I can look back at those times and not feel ashamed. It might actually be the first time that I'm realizing this. Like, that was me doing my best to be human and to explore my sexuality in the safe way that was possible for me.
Hey, I honestly, I wish, I don't even remember when, I remember as a child, like my best friend, actually who I had on my first video podcast, my best friend that I had reconnected with from 37 years. I remember seeing porn for the first time in his house, but I don't remember like the first time I saw gay porn. But anyway, my point was, I wish I had used this as an outlet. You know, like you said, it has to go somewhere. And this was probably one of the safest things that could have happened. Unfortunately, my life took a completely different direction. And I was having sexual experiences as a very young teenager and then all into my young adult life. And, you know, so yeah, be grateful for that, because that would definitely be another layer of all the things that you're dealing with and processing. I would never believe that I would say be thankful that you had porn to look at, or that you turned to porn.
It's such an interesting thing, though. I mean, I obviously wish, looking back now, that I'd have been able to come out earlier in life. I wish, looking back now, that I'd been able to have like sexual experiences around the time that my body was changing, and to be able to like enjoy some of those things when I was a little bit younger. But obviously can't go back and change that now. And I'm grateful for what I've learned and who I am and who I'm becoming. And
yeah. So fast forward a little bit and take me to, I guess, your coming out moment, because I know there's a lot of story in between, but we have like limited time. So there's things I want to get into, but can you tell me about when you came out? And if I did the math right, I looked through some of your social media. If I did the math right, it's been like only like about a year. Is that right?
True.
When did you officially
I publicly
then what was the reaction of everyone, your family, friends, everybody?
On social media last year on my birthday. So September of 2023.
My God, I call myself a gaby because I'm like 5 years. You're a brand spanking new gaby.
True. Let's see if I can just hit this real quick. In high school, I kind of met Jesus, started down the route of like, I want to go to Bible school and ministry school. Went to a couple Bible schools and ministry schools, and then ended up working in full-time ministry for about 10 years.
And if you want to hear all about that experience and where it is, Mike Maeshiro has an excellent 2-part series with Tyler that goes into all the gory details of that. But yes, Bible
experience, gnarly spiritual abuse.
Yes.
Was a lot of pain and grief that sparked my deconstruction journey. And kind of coming face to face with that pain and grief and asking big questions about Christianity and spirituality brought me to a place where I was like, I think that Christians have really got a lot of things wrong and hurt a lot of people. And if Christian leaders can fuck all of this stuff up so bad, maybe they're wrong about sexuality too. And that led to some big conversations with God in the summer of 2022.
Interesting, because you said it kind of the opposite way it usually happens, because usually religious men or women that come out, or, you know, come out as part of the queer community, they usually, when they realize that those scriptures and passages have been misinterpreted and misused, then that kind of sends them down the road of deconstruction. It's like if this is wrong, what else is wrong or isn't quite exactly what Scripture is saying? So that's interesting that yours was flipped.
I know, I'm an odd bird. It happened to me the other way around.
That's cool.
And starting to just look at my sexuality was a huge way of healing from shame, and allowed me to just see myself and see God differently and deconstruct. So I went on my first date with a boy in September of 2022. Had my first kiss October of 2022, so 2 years ago.
I love that you know the dates because it's so fresh.
Moments that I'll never forget. Like, I'll never forget watching my first queer film, Love, Simon, which changed my life, and then watching Heartstopper on Netflix. And that was a visible artistic story demonstration to me that, like, gay love, that a man loving a man, or obviously anyone loving anyone, could be like pure and beautiful and good. Not
so
like
beautiful, man. Yeah.
Or so many of the things that I've been told, like people, father issues, trying to get their needs met through other men. I'm like, no, but like these kids just love each other. And I wish that I'd been able to have this when I was in high school. And it healed like a little Tyler watching Heartstopper for the first time.
Yeah. So we'll go back. I want to go back though to the coming out moment when you came out on social media.
Yeah.
What was the reaction of your friends and family? Because I know it had to be pretty shocking for a lot of people.
Yeah. So I started telling people about my journey kind of November 2022. So almost 2 years ago, I came out to like my mom and my siblings, and kind of like, I made a list of like all the people that I would want to tell in person, because I knew I was going to do a public coming out post. And I started with like the safest people, like the people that I felt like would most respond the best, and was met with so much love and care and support from a lot of those people. You know, I got a few mixed bag, not so great reactions in the midst of it. But, you know, of the first like 30 people I told, I got like 28 really encouraging reactions.
That's great. That's so good, man. So happy for you.
I'm really grateful that I had some kind of bomb friends. Like, oh, we're affirming Christians. We have other friends that are gay, and I just didn't know.
Yeah.
And part of it was I was kind of like stuck at a little mini cult beforehand, so I was a little detached from the world. But that's, again,
I get it.
But coming back to like Birmingham, Alabama, which Alabama is a red state, but Birmingham is a very blue city. There's
interesting.
And there was a lot of openness and a lot of people's hearts to hear about my journey with my sexuality.
That's amazing, man.
Even for the people that weren't affirming, there were enough people who trusted me enough because they'd known me for so long that when I said, hey, I feel like God is taking me on this journey, they were like, okay, that's different, but we trust you. And that also meant a lot to me, that I both had people who kind of had already done some deconstruction work around sexuality, but then people who were like, we trust you, Tyler, because you're a trustworthy person. And this is different, but we're open to having an open heart about this with you.
That's so good, because that's not everyone's experience that comes from a religious background. I saw one of your posts recently where basically you said growing up you were afraid to do anything that would be perceived as like being gay or feminine. And And then you had, you were holding up your hand and you had painted your nails black, which I thought was amazing. But let's talk about that for a second, because I actually experienced the same thing. How are you doing with this? I mean, what's your opinion, your feelings about masculinity, feminine issues? There's a big debate even within the queer community. Like you have part of the LGBTQIA plus wanting to only be LGB or all of these. Do you have an opinion on, masculine, feminine doesn't matter? Is it a spectrum? Is there a way gays should be? What are your thoughts?
I'm really lucky, Mitch. The restaurant coffee shop that I work at here in Birmingham has a big pride flag hanging on the wall. And so there's a lot of places like that in Birmingham, but I think our coffee shop is kind of unique because we're kind of a hub for the queer community in town. It's pretty normal for like a couple lesbians to come on their first date and sit at our coffee shop for 6 hours because that's how they love to do it. It's really normal for people from the trans community, people from the queer community of all kinds to come in and for it to feel like a safe space for them. And on our staff, we probably have 20 people who help run the front of house, servers, baristas, such. Probably 13 or 14 out of the 20 identify somewhere in the LGBTQIA plus spectrum.
Yep.
And so I have coworkers who prefer they, them pronouns. I have coworkers and or have had coworkers who are trans men and who are trans women. And that's such a gift to me because 3 years ago, I had this many friends who were trans. I also had this many friends who were gay because I was scared. It's not celebrated and accepted in those places, obviously. Right. And to have trans and non-binary and bi and ace coworkers has been such a gift because I've learned so much from them.
Yeah. I worked at Apple in Manhattan for about a year, and it was like life-changing for me. Just the culture at Apple, and specifically there in Manhattan in the Chelsea area. I worked with everybody. I learned so much, and you said it perfectly. It was such a gift. It was such, I learned so much. I got really comfortable in my own skin. They gave so much to me that they're not even aware of.
Absolutely. I think so much of my fear around some of those topics was because I had no personal experience. Like I didn't know anyone who was non-binary or gay, obviously years ago.
Yeah.
And to like actually have a relationship with people with different gender orientations and different sexual orientations, and to see like these guys are people. Some are more masculine, some are more feminine, some are just right in the middle. Some swing. Some of my guy friends wear girl clothes and vice versa. And I just think it's so beautiful. And I think these wonderful friends of mine were ones who were like, Tyler, you should paint your nails. Tyler, you should get some girl clothes. Tyler, I bet you would look good in a skirt. I still haven't worn a skirt, but I've have some girl shirts. I do like painting my nails. I like jewelry more than ever before. I got my ears pierced again, which the reason why I let them grow back up, I had them pierced in high school, and then people called me gay, and so I took them out. I got this industrial bar that he's wanted when I was in high school, and the only guy who had it was this gay kid, but I thought it was so cool, and I was like, I've always wanted one. I should freaking get one. Some days I dress...
That was me with tats. I always wanted tattoos, and actually, I came away from the really, really strict religion long, long time ago, 30 years ago. But I just never could bring myself to get a tattoo. And after all the changes that happened in my life the last 5, 6, 7 years, I'm getting tattoos. I've always wanted them, so I'm going for it.
And some days, I dress more mask. Some days I look more gay and stylish.
Yeah.
And everything in between. It was fun for Pride last year to wear my first crop top. It was fun, earlier this year to wear my first Speedo. I'm like, these things gay rites of passage, and I'm like, I'm gonna try it, and if I don't like it, it's fine. But I want to try wearing a crop top. I want to try a Speedo.
Dude,
I want to try
I have a
sexy
Speedo story.
costume.
I'm married to a Brazilian, so I've been here a bunch of times while we were still dating to visit, and I wore my first Speedo here in Brazil, like I think on a boat trip, or maybe probably the beach. I don't know, but I was like so uncomfortable. Now, a couple years later, I joked. I don't know if you saw it, but like when I did the podcast with my friend, it was getting so hot here, and we don't have AC, and I had on like a t-shirt here, but like at the end, I'm like, you won't believe what I'm wearing, and I stood up and I'm in a Speedo. I had the t-shirt on, sweatshirt, Speedo.
And I think these things have been really healing for me because A, I'm facing fears. B, I'm confronting my shame. I'm confronting images and thoughts that I've had about my body because I have not always had a relationship with my body. And I'm getting to confront the what are people going to think of me? What are people going to say?
Yes.
Facing these fears is one of the things that's helping to set me free. And so choosing courage in these areas has changed my life. And I recommend for anyone listening, you don't have to buy a Speedo or buy a crop top or paint your nails, but what's something that you're scared of? Yeah. Or what's something that you've always wanted to do, like getting a piercing or a tattoo or going on a trip somewhere or going to a gay beach or going to a nude beach. That it's you always were afraid to do it because you were afraid because of these things.
Do it.
Do those things and then seeing that you're going to be okay. And having safe people to go along the journey with me. The first time I got my nails painted, one of my good friends who's straight went and got his nails painted with me.
So fun.
People to take risks with. Before I went outside in my Speedo to the pool for the first time, I had a friend and I was like, I want to wear a Speedo to my pool. Is that going to be okay? What do I do if people look at me? And I was just able to do these things in community with people that I loved and trusted and was safe with. And being able to do those things not alone from a place of facing my fear has been the biggest thing. That's why I having my coach walking me through my coming out process changed my life. I'm so grateful. I would have been able to do all of this alone. My courage has been a gift that was shared with me with people who love me unconditionally.
And let me go ahead and just transition that to kind of what you talked about on Mike's podcast was that, you went through this whole journey. And like I said, the gory details are on that podcast, I'm not going to have you rehash all of that. It's probably a lot of pain involved there, but I would like you to, if you can, share with us kind of the emotional journey that you went through, and then check in, how are you doing now after all of that?
Yeah, it's been a lot.
Yeah.
I have been a part of various spiritual communities over the years. And the one that I was most recently affiliated with was a community environment where we all lived and worked and did church together, basically on this communal type property in the middle of nowhere. And it was very authoritarian, high control religion. The people who ran this ministry, who started it, are very famous worship leaders who, if you go to pretty much any church in America, their songs get sung every weekend. And they're celebrities. These people are pictured as being the epitome. They're put on pedestals and they hear God and they're famous and they have all these followers and have sold all these albums and are a part of the Bethel Music record label kind of moment. And there were some really beautiful things about that place. I don't know exactly why everything happened the way it did or what led to that place being what it is. But super narcissistic, abusive, emotionally invalidating, gaslighting, manipulative, things happen there. And I think as a sensitive person, someone who's been through trauma in their life, as a queer person, I was especially sensitive to some of those things. You know, I think a cishet straight white guy who has very little trauma can get through an environment like that and kind of be okay.
I mean, still not healthy.
No,
like,
obviously
super
not.
Unhealthy, abusive.
Not. But it was a really toxic, harmful environment for me and has been for many others. Since I've gone public with my story, I've gotten maybe 30, 40, 50 messages from people from that same ministry who'd been through their worked on staff there who basically said me too.
Wow.
Not to mention probably 100 messages from other people.
Dude,
from
I totally see this as like a Netflix documentary. Unfortunately.
You know, yes.
I got obsessed for a little while watching all of these cult, abusive religion documentaries. It was not good for me. I have to stop this. I'm like obsessed. But this is totally something that I would be watching on one of the streaming documentaries.
Yes. I mean, obviously those things are sad and heartbreaking. And I think it's so those stories are told, because if we don't have awareness that those things are happening and how they happen and how people maybe who are emotionally wounded and who don't process that pain and then become leaders and put on pedestals, how if they don't maybe go through some things or have the proper accountability or in systems like Christianity that can really easily end up as a high control religion with lots of rules and legalism, how they can really quickly become really harmful and abusive to people. I think it's important that those stories are being told. That organization is still running. There's no indication to me that they have changed. I have privately confronted them before I posted the podcast. They did not respond to my public confrontation, besides some people blocking me on social media from there.
Yep.
So I want to do everything that I can do to apply gentle pressure to seeing that change. Because it was really heartbreaking. Obviously, it was very heartbreaking for me to experience that. And it was really heartbreaking for me to hear that other people have gone through it.
Absolutely.
Thankfully,
but you have to tell the story so that hopefully others will not experience the same thing that you did.
For sure.
Eventually, like you said, if it's still in operation.
Eventually. Thankfully, I had a lot of people when I came back who were really kind. Again, not everyone was. When I came back, I shared with some of my friends some of my experiences, and they were like, oh, I don't believe you. Like, it's hard for me to believe that happened to you, because these people, like, I listened to their music. How could they do this to you? So yeah, I had moments where I've lost a lot of friends because I shared what happened and they didn't have capacity for whatever reason to understand and to compute that what I experienced, that someone could actually do that.
So how are you doing now? Are you still in the process of healing? Do you feel like, are you still dead a lot of times? I'm
fighting the good fight. There's moments that are really hard. I still see coaches and therapists to process through things to me. Some things are still really triggering. There's some things that I miss. I can't necessarily do the like Sunday morning church thing with my nervous system. And like worship music has kind of maybe been ruined for me forever.
Listen, let me tell you something. I was a worship leader, and there was a lot of years where it just didn't affect me, where I wasn't even interested in hearing it. And I kind of came back to it was kind of a pendulum swing. I swung way over here, and I'm kind of like back to where just in recent months, I've kind of started to reconnect, and actually enjoy and actually even get something from. So, I mean, it's a possibility. I mean, that doesn't mean it will happen the same way for you, but,
there's lots of things that my nervous system, I think, still needs space from. I think there's the pain of like the gaslighting that the pain of the spiritual and verbal and emotional abuse that I experienced, the pain of conversion therapy. But I mean, these people that I lived life with for 3.5 years at this one ministry, for example, like when I decided to leave, they excommunicated me and painted a story that villainized me, and everybody cut me off. And so this
in the
was
name
like
of Christian love.
And these were like my best friends for 3.5 years. This was my spiritual community, the people that I worked with, the people that I lived, the people that I shared meals with, the kids that I babysat. Like these were like my closest people. And in a moment, all of those people cut me out of their lives. And I don't know how to explain it other than like, I was dead to them and they died. And like our relationship was so severed that it was like my whole family died in like a car crash or bus crash or an airplane crash.
Dude, I'm so sorry you experienced all that. Like that's just, to me, it's even more heartbreaking because it's like the opposite of what Christ was about.
Thank you.
The opposite.
The grief is deep, you know?
Yeah.
I think a loss like that, I haven't lost like a mom or a dad or a sibling or anything like that, but I've heard people say that like grief kind of lasts forever. And those things are like holes in our hearts that will always be with us. And
just learn to live with it.
It feels like grief comes in waves, and some days are weak. Sometimes I'll hear a song or see a brand of wine or whatever it is that reminds me of people that I like loved and cared for in that place and in those places that were so connected to me. Like honestly, fall is a little bit of a tougher time for me. Kind of the changing of the seasons time was kind of like a big time when I entered that place. And so this time of year reminds me more, and grief feels a little bit stronger. Yeah. And again, fall is kind of about that, which is interesting and unique too.
True. Big analogy there.
You know,
Man,
I'm learning.
Again, I hate that anybody has gone through that, but I mean, I commend you for like just your bravery and your strength to be able to speak out about it. I mean, especially something that's so painful and that's still there as a part of your, you know, it's still something like you said that it's going to comes up in waves. And so while you're going through it, you're at the same time, you're doing what you can do to help other people. Like I said, not have to face it, have to go through it, recognize it in other organizations, other places. It's amazing, man. It's such a beautiful story. I mean, and I know there's so much more. But to start kind of closing up, tell us something that you're kind of into right now, like something that you get excited about, whether it's a movie, a series you're really into, a book, I don't know, politics. We're a week out from like,
Lord, politics,
ridiculous, important election. Anyway, what are you passionate about right now?
I am enjoying a Disney Plus television show on Marvel called Agatha All Along.
I've heard so many people talk about this.
The series finale is tonight. 2 episodes are dropping, and it is a gay, queer, female empowering, fear-facing, grief-processing, beautiful television show. This is one of my favorite things I've watched in a long time.
Okay, I've got to check it out. Like you've got to be like the 5th or 6th person to bring this up, and I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen it, but I haven't put it on my list yet.
If you haven't seen WandaVision yet, watch that first if you can. But
WandaVision, I saw it.
Okay, great. You're good.
Yeah,
You're right.
Loved it. So what's next for Tyler Williamson? I saw a post that maybe you have a new business venture.
Yeah, so I've been doing some bartending on the side, working with some catering companies in town. And my hope is, in the next 6 to 9 months, to be running a fully operating mobile bar here in Birmingham. I also am a certified life coach. So I want to launch up and put some more intention into getting some more coaching clients. Would love to just work with people and help them get set free and teach them about their heart and emotional health.
Yes.
And I am going to be starting a Substack.
Cool.
Writing a book called A Beginner's Guide to Deconstruction. And so it's going to chapter by chapter talking about basically things that I encountered on my journey of deconstruction. Like starting at the very beginning of like God being like good and love, as opposed to, you know, what I grew up in, to having conversations about hell, to conversations about sexuality, to conversations about trans people, to conversations about spiritual abuse. So I'm really excited to kind of just open up and start sharing some of my journey of deconstruction. Process through that with me, because I think it's really important.
It is important. And I've kind of been on a similar journey myself. And there was a point a couple of years ago, maybe a year ago, where I felt really strongly that like I had, you know, because there's a lot of times where it's like, why did I have to experience and go through all the things that I did, and even cause the pain that I caused a lot of people in my life that I love dearly. And I really believe that, you know, I've gone through everything that I've gone through, and you as well, you know, for a reason, for a purpose. And I believe, like you're getting ready to use it for, all of the things we've experienced, we can now help people that are going through similar things. You know, we have firsthand knowledge of to help somebody through the thing that we went through. So exciting stuff, man. Really, really can't wait to watch and see everything, all the good stuff that's going to be happening in your life.
Thank you. We'll stay connected.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. One last thing I want to do. This wasn't in the notes. It won't take too long, but, I didn't do this on my first few guests, but I think I'm going to do it with every guest I have come on the show from this point forward. But I'm going to start, and I want to do a pop culture version of this or that. I'm just going to go through a list of like 12 or 15 things. You choose one, and you have to choose one. If you're just really, really like hate both, you can say neither. But choose one together, okay?
I'm ready.
Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Britney or Christina?
Christina.
NSYNC, this might be too old for you. NSYNC or Backstreet Boys?
Backstreet's back all right.
Oh, all right. The Dress, blue and black or white and gold?
I've only ever seen white and gold.
I actually saw both. Disney or Pixar?
Disney.
Okay. Michael Jackson or Prince?
MJ, for sure.
Okay. Coldplay or U2?
Coldplay.
Okay. Olivia Rodrigo or Sabrina Carpenter?
Olivia. Vampire gets me.
There you go. All right. Taylor or Chappell Roan?
Taylor. Always.
Taylor. iPhone or Android?
iPhone for sure.
Mac or PC?
I got all Apple in this house.
I'm an Apple guy too. Yep, Apple Watch. There we go. I can't hold myself up. Disney Channel or Nickelodeon?
Ooh,
that's a tough
one. Nickelodeon. I watched everything, Nick.
Yep.
Slime Time.
Yep, I think we did too. Did you have a favorite?
Rugrats and then Rocket Power.
Converse or Vans?
Neither.
Okay. It's so weird because you like strike me as like a Converse Vans.
I should be.
Okay. Target or Walmart?
Target.
The face you made when I said Walmart. All right. This is a triple. There's only a couple left. This is a triple choice. McDonald's, Wendy's, or Burger King?
Chick-fil-A.
Did you say Chick-fil-A? Absolutely. No, I totally agree. They still have it. And actually, I wasn't sure if you were from the West Coast. I thought you might say In-N-Out. I'm like, that's not on the same.
It's In-N-Out.
But it's not even on the same level. That's like a different kind of, that's like a smash burger or a Five Guys or something.
For sure.
Yeah, it's better. A couple more. New York City or LA?
New York. I went for the first time last summer and fell in love. I have to live there one day. I'm like, every gay man should live in New York for a season of life.
For a little while. I did it.
Yeah.
And the last one, cats or dogs?
El gato, por favor.
Do you have both? Is that why you hesitated?
I love animals. I'm just not in like a season where I want to have a pet. And so the idea of having a pet, I'm just like, oh, plants. The answer is plants, my friends. Look at all the plants. Either, and I'd say all the plants for 100, Alex.
But they don't show affection. That's the only thing. I mean, I love my... She doesn't...
That's why, friends, he shows me the affection that my plants can't.
I'm going to name my plants now that we talked about that at the beginning.
As we should. I have over 100, so it's going to be a little harder for me.
Mine'll be easier. It'll be Pop Divas again, like the smart light lamps. All right, Tyler, it's been a pleasure. And again, let me say again how excited I am. Looking forward to all the good stuff you have coming up, and just you're an amazing person. I'm so happy you're going to take all of this negative, bad stuff that happened to you, and you're going to turn it around for good and like help people and
trying my best.
Do some good with it. You will. I know you will.
It's been so fun to be here. My heart feels full from this interview.
All right, man. Thank you so much for being here. Have a good one. Talk to you soon.
Hey, bye.
Take care. Bye. All right. That was my brand new friend, Tyler Williamson. And as you see, he's got a pretty amazing, crazy, chaotic, beautiful story. And he shared a little bit of it with us. I'm going to put some of his contact information down below in the show notes. And thank you for being here. If you enjoyed our little discussion there, make sure that you subscribe and you like and you share so that we can grow this little podcast and just reach more people. All right. Thanks so much again for watching. This is Mitch. You've been watching On Straight. I'll see you next time, and big, big love.